This video is dedicated to my mom, Gail Mashaw, and this was one of her bucket list items, was to visit the Asheville Biltmore house. So I'm going to do my best to give justice to the story of this house. This house was built by George Washington Vanderbilt. It was built between 1889 and it was opened on Christmas Eve of 1895. It's the largest privately owned house in the United States at over 178,000 square feet. The feat to build this house was quite something. It required a woodworking factory to be built, a brick kiln that produced 32,000 bricks a day, a 3-mile spur off of the railroad, 1,000 workers, and 60 stonemasons. Here you see the billiards room, and over in the corner there is this door that leads to the smoking room. This was a pretty progressive family. They encouraged women to participate. This dining room is spectacular. It's over 70 feet high. It's a 42 by 72 foot square room, and it seated like 64 guests when needed. This is the less formal dining room. This room had some very progressive artwork. This area remained unfinished for a long time. And we're coming up to the favorite part of my house. During World War II in 1942, the house was closed and they housed 62 paintings and 7 sculptures from the National Gallery of Art from Washington, D.C. And they were stored here until the war was over and everything was safe. Frederick Olmsted was the landscape architect for this property as well as Central Park in New York. And the untimely death of Mr. Vanderbilt, his wife Edith sold off 87,000 acres of the property to the federal government and now is the Pisgah National Forest. Miss Edith Vanderbilt was a very fashionable and tall and beautiful lady, as you see here. Mr. Vanderbilt was an avid reader and he had a collection of over 10,000 privately owned books, some of which were first edition. And guests were encouraged to borrow the books during their stay there. The architect for the house was Richard Morris Hunt. He built the house in the French Renaissance style with 35 bedrooms for family and guests, 43 bathrooms, 65 fireplaces, and 3 kitchens. The house was a marvel of modern facilities, including the elevator that you just saw. They had forced air heat, they had a call bell system, centrally controlled clocks, and even fire alarms. Here you see Mr. Vanderbilt's room, and the bed looked tiny in the room, but it was actually quite a large bed. It's just the grand nature of the room. His bedroom and his wife Edith's bedroom were connected by this lounge. And this was Edith's bedroom. This is some examples of some of the guest bedrooms. They each had their own bathroom, and at the time they didn't put sinks in the bathrooms, but rather just had a tub and a toilet. Now we're going into the basement, and this is where the house really gets amazing. They had a bowling alley. They had a state-of-the-art gym at the time. An indoor swimming pool with underwater lighting that was heated. This is some of the kitchens. That's the rotisserie kitchen. This kitchen had all the original copper pots and pans. This was the servants' dining quarters. Some of the laundry facilities. This is the brown laundry facility. And then the larger one is coming up. And this even had what you would consider a fairly modern washing machine. They had refrigeration, which was extremely uncommon. This was a servant's bedroom, or an example of one. Here's a second example. This is the areas where they had like the smoking room and the gun room. Then we went down to the gardens, and you'll see coming up they had this really cool display where they had a replica of the house, and it was entirely made of natural materials such as leaves and sticks. And then we went through the rose garden, and I smelled every type of rose that they have. It was beautiful. And then we headed down to the village. Well, actually it's considered the winery. And then this sculpture here is made out of grapevines, and that was very cool. And then lastly, we went and had a free wine tasting and bought my mom a beautiful bottle of wine to commemorate her bucket list day. So I hope this day was everything that she had hoped for. And thank you to the Biltmore House for providing her such a great day.